Stephanie, are you here? Just testing my.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah.
Did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you.
Okay, I'm here. I'm just muted and with my camera off.
Okay. All right. I see a few people joining in. Welcome. We're just gonna give it a few minutes. You're early, so we're gonna give it a few minutes for others to join, and we will start. We have a tight schedule today, so we're going to rush through. We're going to speed through our content for today. Hi, Awal. Did I pronounce
Good
that?
afternoon. Good afternoon.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing good. And you too?
Fine, thank you. So did you invite anyone else to this town hall today?
Yes, I invited my friends that we all want to apply for the scholarship. So hopefully I'm expecting them to join very soon.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, 2 more minutes and we'll start. Have you heard of the BBPA before, or is this your first time?
Oh, that's $1 million question. I heard it when I was in high school, and I've kept my eyes on the radar in order to apply for the scholarship. But due to some unforeseen circumstances, I couldn't apply for the past 3 years. But I was eligible to apply this year.
That's amazing. Okay. Great. Better now than never, right?
Yeah. And it's a great honor to be able to apply for this opportunity.
Awesome. Hopefully after today you feel more confident about your application. Have you started already, or?
I already completed my application.
Okay.
I felt like it's very necessary to attend the town hall to learn a lot of tips and points in order to that can help me in propagating and advancing my application to be more concise and more confident.
Sounds good. Right, it's 5:30, but I'm just gonna give you 1 minute and then we'll join in. We'll start just because we have just an hour today and we want to get through to all of the content that we have. Okay. All right, I think we will just start. Just try to control my view here. All right. But before I start, Stephanie, please, would you be able to help admit people in just so that I can just do the presentation?
I'm logged in my personal account because I don't think we could both be in.
Okay, so all right,
Yeah,
no
let me
worries.
see if I can. All right.
It's fine. I'll just do that. Okay, welcome everyone to the BBPA National Scholarship Program Town Hall. This is the first town hall of a series of 3 other town halls. So I'm glad to have you all. But before I continue, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Uju Wobu. I am one of the program managers at BBPA, and it's a pleasure to have you all join today. I know this is one of a very important step for you to take in the pursuit of your academic ambitions. So the goal is, after this town hall and the other 2 town halls that will happen in the course of the next few weeks, you'll be a lot more confident in your applications, not just for the BBPA scholarship, but also for future scholarships as well. All right, so today we're going to be talking in general, if my slide will skip. Today, the agenda is really to give you high level what the BBPA is about, because I understand that some of you are just hearing about BBPA in the last couple of weeks, or some of you have heard about BBPA in the last few years. I'll also give you an overview of the National Scholarship Program, the new scholarships that have been announced lately, the application process, as well as the timelines and the calendar you should look out for. Also what we're looking to achieve in terms of Q&A. But before we get into Q&A, we have a special guest here. She's one of the she's one of the OGs, former BBPA scholarship applicants and awardees. So she's going to walk us through for a couple of minutes what the process was like for her to apply and also be awarded scholarships. Okay. So the BBPA high level is really just acronym for the Black Business and Professional Association. It was founded roughly 40 years ago in 1983. It's a registered nonprofit, and its goal is really to create greater equity, professional opportunity, and economic empowerment for the Black community. So how we do this is through different programs, and of course, the scholarship as well. So you would see that in addition to the National Scholarship Program, we also have the BBPA Harry Jerome Awards, which you may or may not have heard about, but it's like the Black Oscars for Canada. And then we also have other programs that really just protect, support, optimize Black professionals and also entrepreneurs as well. Now, the National Scholarship Program has been around for 36 plus years, and in total, we have awarded over 1,500 scholarships and donated over $5 million in the space of that time. The scholarships are really just, they're diverse scholarships, but they're highlighted under 3 main buckets. So we have the specialty scholarships, we have the future leaders scholarships, and we have the named scholarships. So sometimes sometimes you would hear like a Majuri scholarship or a TD scholarship, or some of those are the named or legacy scholarships. we would have time for questions at the end of this. So if you have any questions, just keep it, write it down, and then we would attend to the questions right after. So right now, we're just going to go into the new scholarships that you should look out for. One of them is the Kindred Scholarship, which is 2 scholarships of $2,000 each per year of enrollment for up to 4 years starting from 2022. The scholarships will provide students will be provided for students that are in that are studying under like mental health or health sciences or science in general. There's also the Canadian Medical Foundation bursary for Black medical students. That's 5 scholarships valued at $5,000 each for students that are attending medical school in Canada. We also have another new scholarship called Robert Bobby Love EZ Community Leadership, and that is a $2,500 scholarship that is awarded to a student who emulates Bobby Love's quest for education and sports. Now, if you want to know more details about this scholarship, as well as the other scholarships that we have, you could always go on to the BBPA.org to get more information on that. But these are the new ones. We also have new scholarships that are also going to be announced in the next couple of weeks before the scholarship window closes. You should know that I should reiterate that these are the new scholarships. There are other existing reoccurring scholarships that are still available. We just can't list them all here. Otherwise, we'll spend quite a lot of time going through that. And so to the meat of today, which is really the application process, you see that in terms of the application, we have the application which you have to complete from beginning to end, but we also have another part, which is a mandatory workshop and execution that supports your development. So that is also going to, I'll speak to that in the later parts of this presentation, but it's also one of the town halls that you would need to attend in addition to your scholarship application that you're putting in. And then we have the last beat, which is an award ceremony where we would meet in person and award you your scholarship should you be chosen. These are the main dates. One of the key dates for you to keep top of mind is the application will close July 18th. We also have the reviews that would happen between July and August. And then the awards will be announced in September, as well as the main ceremony, which would be in person, that would happen in September to October. And then in terms of the main process, we have 5 key parts, which I'll also delve into in more detail, but the highlighted piece in black are really the parts that are, they're all your responsibility, but the one you really have to pay, you have to put your personal effort into is completing the online details, submitting your transcript, getting the official transcript from your school and uploading that, and really taking time to create your personal story, which is your essay and personal statement, put your best foot forward, as well as your income statement, like your budgeting sheets, which I'll speak to. And then we also have the letter of reference. In prior years, we would do more than one letter of reference, but this year we're just going to do one reference letter. Now, here's what the structure looks like. If you've gone on the application portal like OWL has, you see that there are different parts of the scholarship application. The personal and academic profile, it's pretty basic. You have to upload your transcript. You have to upload details about yourself, your university, your current year of study. And all of those details, just so that it gives us a more holistic view of your academic journey. There's also the personal statement and also reference letter. I'll go into them in more detail in a minute, but I also want to make you understand that you should make sure to focus, make sure what you're submitting is as clear as possible, and also very legible, so that the judges that are going through your profile helps understand what your story is and what your financial need is. Now, the first piece is your academic and personal profile. So here, we want to, see your academic strength. I should highlight that you're not just going to be awarded based on your academic strength. It's based on these three buckets. So your personal story, your financial need, your academic history. So that's also part of what will contribute to the consideration for an award. Now you're advised to complete these as clearly as possible. Complete your profile, upload your transcript, and then it's always advisable to add a resume as the additional document. One of the sessions that would have in terms of the workshop would be how to craft a standard resume, just so that it puts your best foot forward. The next piece is your personal statement. So this piece is twofold. So one, you would be required to add a 500-worded essay on your financial need, and then also a 1,000-word essay that expresses your personal agency. So pretty much what drives you, why should the award be given to you and not the next person? What are your visions, your ambitions? Why do you deserve the scholarship? Nobody can toot your horn better than you can. So put your best foot forward there. If you have to get like 10 other people to review your essay, get them to review. But I would also advise to, go through the personal statement guide that's on the website. So it gives you clues and tips on how to phrase your essay. You also want to stick to the number of words. So we've asked for 1,000 words. You don't want to go writing 2,000 words, right? So stick to those parameters, and you should be good. Then there's also the reference letter. Like I mentioned, we're streamlining it to just one reference letter now, just so that it reduces the barriers that you have to face trying to chase people for reference letters. So it could be a community leader. If you're athletic, it could be like an athletic coach or someone in that field, or it could be an academic director or a teacher that really knows you. Don't just reach out to someone because they're a leader and ask, oh, I need a letter of reference. Go to someone other than your family, of course, that knows you, that knows your contribution to the work that you have done either in sports or in the community or in school, that can really speak very highly of you, because really it's a sales speech and they're selling you and your and the work that you've done, such that the judges would consider you for any of the scholarships that are listed. And then high level in terms of your application checklist, you should add as much detail as possible for your personal your personal details. I've had a couple of questions come through to me to say, do we need to add our SIN? Yes, it's necessary, and for sure it's very protected. It would not be shared with anyone else, but we need that to be able to pay out your award. And also for tax benefits as well. So you need to add that piece in, but be sure that your details are very safe. Also be sure to add your official transcript. Your personal essay, again, it's always best practice to get as many people to review your work as possible, your essay, just so that, as many eyes that see it, you can see different points of view. You want to add your financial statement to see, okay, so we can see where the need is. How much are you expecting to earn in the next year versus how much are you expecting to expense in the next year, so we can see where that need is. There's also a budgeting template that is on the website that you can leverage. We would also be teaching on, how to put together the best budgeting synopsis for your application at the next workshop, which would be on the 30th. Also, with your academic reference, don't just send an email or send a text to someone to write a reference letter for you. Reach out to them, speak to them, let them know what is at stake, that this is your need. You want this and this, you want to win the scholarship. It is literally, so important to you. Help them to understand how important it is, so that they can also put that in their letter, and then reach out to them as early as possible, because you have your timeline, but they also have timelines. They also have things that they're doing. They also have, work to do. So give them enough time to be able to put together a really solid reference letter for you. You don't want a situation whereby they're rushing through a reference letter for you, and so they don't give you the strongest reference letter for you to make your application as strong as possible. And then don't wait till the last minute. I know a lot of us keep pushing things away and say, oh, it's July 18th, it's still far. Start now if you haven't already, and make sure you meet the application deadlines. You can put all the pieces together and then just, have people review it and sit on it. But don't wait till the last minute to start your application. Start doing it now. And that's why we've given as much time as possible. So to recap, there are really 4 important steps to the application process, which is to go through the application list and see what is required of you, complete every piece of the application according to the guidelines. If we say 500 words, don't do 600, like stick to it. If we're asking for a transcript, just upload a transcript and not something else, and then submit a complete application. I've seen applications sometimes where they upload their CV, but they don't upload their budget synopsis, or they write one essay, but they don't add a reference letter. So make sure your application is complete. And also give your recommenders enough time, and then follow up with them. Don't just tell them at the beginning of the application and then wait till the end of the application to follow up. Always follow up at different intervals. If you want to follow up every week or 2 weeks, just be sure to manage your time. The other mandatory requirements, which I believe I have hinted prior to now, is the workshop that you have to attend. So we're not just interested in your academic success, we're also interested in your personal development. So what that means is it is important that you attend the next workshop, which will really cover 3 pieces. Is going to be 2 hours long. It will cover resume writing, it will cover financial literacy and budgeting, which are also very critical to your application. So it's also something like this. We're also trying to kit you up and provide you with the tips that you need to make a strong application, to put forward a strong application. And there's also going to be another workshop, which we'll call Entrepreneurship 101, but pretty much is helping you to identify your skills, the transferable skills, helping you to identify networking opportunities or opportunities that you can take advantage of that align with your career goals, your academic goals. And then there's also the BBPA Youth Mentorship. So the mandatory workshop, you're supposed to attend at least 3 of this. Thankfully, we're compressing 3 workshops into 1 workshop, which would happen on the 30th. But then the other optional piece is the youth mentorship, which is a virtual mentorship 6-month long that you can sign up to. And you can always go on the website for more details, or email us, and then you will be provided with the link to sign up for mentorship pairing. And now I think we're right on time. So I'm going to introduce one, and I can't see, because I'm projecting, I can't see the people that are on. But Taja, if you're on, can you just unmute yourself and say hi?
Hello.
Hi, Taja.
Hi.
Do you remember this picture?
Yes, I do. If I put my head the same way, I probably look the same.
Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do is to stop sharing for a second, just so that we can all see you, and then we can have a conversation. Okay. All right. Awesome. So how are you?
I'm not too bad. Yourself?
I'm fine, thank you. So you're one of our superstar applicants, and I'm sure you know that already. Everyone, this is Teja. She's a two-time national BBPA National Scholarship awardee. I have personally gone through her application in the past, and it's always so detailed. And I thought it would be a great idea to, get her on stage today just so that she can speak to us about what really is her process when she, is putting together an application. And so we're just going to have a conversation, right? And then after the conversation, we would then go into a question and answer session where we would open up the floor and everyone here can ask questions. Okay. All right. So Teja, tell us what really goes through, what is your process when it comes to applying for scholarships? So not just BBPA scholarship, but scholarships in general. What is your process in going through that?
Okay, I treat scholarships like school papers. So like everyone has different learning styles. For me, sometimes things don't click immediately, so I have to run them over. So what I will do, kind of like if you get a research paper and you have the overview and the purpose and the rubric, I will break down each one, because what you'll find, since we're just talking about scholarships in general, what you'll find, you're often asked for how much you align with that scholarship organization. So before I even get into the application, I kind of set my mind up to identify how I align with that scholarship. So I might just spend one day looking through the BBPA website, looking at their core values, the things that they prioritize, that they value. And then I'll start looking at the things that I have done and how I identify with it as well. And I have this process called like brain vomit, where I just write everything that I think might be relevant in like a rough draft. So think about everything you've been through, everything that you've done, and write it down, and then starting to eliminate that and see what matches with the BBPA. Because with scholarships in general, it's not always about everything that you've done, but the things that are relevant to the scholarship organization. So being able to see what's relevant, what can I highlight or focus on in that service that was relevant, or can I save this for another application? And then because of that, with scholarships, because I do that process as a systemized way, I just leverage each and every single time, like having that strategy. What's the overview? What's the background? How do I identify with it? What are some key aspects that I can touch upon? What is my brainstorm? Do I have any information that I've used before that I can leverage or work with? And that's kind of my process.
That's amazing. And I like how you highlighted the fact that you go and research the organization, because like searching for a job, right? Like you want to be able to highlight what about this organization aligns with my personal values, because that is what will come through in your personal statement or in your essay, right? So my question now is, and just before I go to the question, I also wanted to highlight that in as much as this is, a strategy that, won for her, it's also something that you want to be natural about. You just don't want to go onto the website and say, oh, there's something there. Okay, I can just weave it into my essay, even though it doesn't particularly align with you. So you want to be sure that it aligns with your personal values, and just speak something about what BBPA or the organization that you're applying for scholarship with, how it applies to you. Okay, so my next question is, for someone who, say in your case, I know that you're very community focused. I know that you've done a lot of volunteer work in the community. And so there are many things that are part of your life that you could have added into your personal statement or your essay, and made it like super long. What was your process in streamlining, okay, which part should be relevant to the scholarship? And I want you to answer it in twofold. So I know that you can't take the position of what if I didn't have all this experience, but I also want you to answer from the position of what if I didn't have this experience, how would I have told my story, right?
Okay, awesome. So first through the lens of having the experience, and then second of not having it, and streamlining. Okay, so for the first part, what I try to do is find commonalities. So if you find, for those of you who've done community work or volunteer experience, start to look at the theme of your work. Are you working with youth a lot? What areas are you working in and what are you learning? So then when I streamline and find the similarities, then I say to myself, if I don't mention 5 of the things that I've done, it's actually okay because all of them have a common theme. So let's say you've done 6 things that are similar, find the theme out of each one so that even if you don't get to mention all 6, you're still mentioning the value about it and the impact about it. So that's my streamline processing where I'll think about how does it relate, what's the most common, and then also a process of elimination. So let's say, for example, you worked in the shelter and you assisted your teacher, but you have more insight on what you've done with assisting the teacher. In my case, I would put the shelter to the side and focus on the teacher one because it's a combination of what you did and why it's important and merging those two together. So I would also say for community experience, if you have several different experiences, not to get so over focused on what sounds the best or what is the greatest, because if it lacks insight or why it was even important or what was the impact, it doesn't make much of a difference. So that's something that I do. Now on the flip end, interestingly enough, when I first applied for the BBPA, I was in high school and I did not have as many experiences as I do now. So I actually remember applying and thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I have nothing, like I only did like 3 things and they don't even seem that big. So what I do in those instances, I narrow in on the value and the substance, because like I said, again, if 2 people say, let's say, I don't know, 2 people say they're a lawyer and one explains why, and the other one just says, I'm a lawyer, you're going to appreciate the substance of the person that says why. So when I don't have as many experiences, to make it very practical, let's say school was busy for you, you were doing multiple things, and maybe one of your things was helping the teacher out. That was one thing you're doing consistently. What I would do in that instance is highlight the value of consistency and how that relates to being present in community. So going deeper in the things that you have, so that even if you don't have a lot of variety, you're focusing on the value. So when you have more things, focus on the variety. When you have less things, focusing on the value. So if you've only done one thing, I would say going into what did you learn about this thing? Why was it important? Even though you did this one thing, what made you so consistent about it? What was the impact that you've made? Have you progressed in working in that area as far as promotion, leadership, recognition is what I would say if you have less community experiences. And also adding that into your financial needs statement if you need to. I know for myself, I couldn't do sports for a prolonged period of time because I had to babysit my sister. So sometimes things that are not working for you can still be leveraged in bringing context to maybe why you didn't even get to do community stuff and how you made up for that in other areas is what I would say.
Absolutely. Thanks for that. I like how you highlighted if you have a lot of experience, you focus on the variety. And then if you have less, say for people who are just coming out of high school, then focus on the value and how it aligns to the overall ethos of the scholarship program itself. Now we're going to get deeper into the application process, and I know like the different years that you applied, they were slightly different in terms of the process, but overall pretty much the same. But which part of it was the most challenging for you and how were you able to navigate that?
I would say the community service piece and trunking it down. I think there have been some variations with the word count, but sometimes it can catch up on you. So I think for the community experience, taking a step back and asking myself, okay, what is relevant and why is it relevant? And one thing I would say practically, like you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. So when you have shorter word counts, sometimes you think things make more sense if you have a background story to it, which is understandable. But when you don't have that space, going straight at it, if you have a story that has contributed to you being resilient and you have a short space to talk about it, maybe it's a quote that resonated with you. Maybe it's an excerpt from one mantra that continuously played in your head. So that was one part that was difficult. And also the personal statement, because not just with the BBPA, but when I started applying for scholarships, I would always ask myself, well, what makes me different? I mean, like I didn't go through all of these different things, and just to remind yourself, it's not necessarily about what you've gone through being worse than the other, but what did you learn from it, and distinguishing it. So any details of your story that help to distinguish you from someone else, like let's say two people are like, hey, like for myself, hey, I went through eviction. But what was that like for you? How did that impact you? How did that impact your drive for education? When you narrow in on those details, it makes it easier for you to stand out as an applicant, since a lot of us have shared experiences in different ways. So I think once I started to think about, it's not how big the challenge is, but how unique I found myself to be in that challenge, and what I learned from it, and distinguishing myself, it was a bit easier, but you still have to play around with it.
Absolutely. And then in terms of the recommendation letters, because you had pretty solid recommendation, right? How did you go about picking the people to write those reference letters for you? And what was your process around that?
Yes, so same thing with that, with recommendation letters. So what I do, since the BBPA is year round, what I'll do is I'll let my references know before the scholarship even starts. But let's say you had just stumbled across it. I agree with Uju, having a conversation with your reference, and also being very clear and very concise and very intentional. So I treat my reference letters like school assignments as well too. So after we have the initial discussion, I construct an email, I bullet point the values of the BBPA, and then I have at least, 3 is my go-to number. I have 3 main things that I ask for them to highlight in the letter and how. And with that, they have some ideas on what to work on, and supplementing them with the resume. What I would say for recommendations that I learned as well too, you don't want your referee to just regurgitate what you did on your resume, because then you're not maximizing every single thing that you use on the application, because you're already submitting a resume. So let's say you submit your resume, having your recommendation really focus on how they relate to one aspect of your resume. So it's not just generic, and also asking them to think about things that they've learned about you, so that it's not as generic and it doesn't seem like a template, as there's many templates as well too for reference letters. So that's what I do. I also do check in with them and let them know, and I'll give them an earlier deadline than the scholarship, just for myself, so that I can review it. Some references, they'll work with you and ask if there's anything that you want to tweak. So giving them that time. So if it's due the 18th and you can, asking them to get the reference back to you the week before or 2 weeks before, so that you can review it and process it as well too. And the last thing I would say, don't focus on the title of your reference and just the organization of where they come from, but also how they know you as a person. I know in the past, I had a reference from a more established organization, and then a coach I worked a lot with, but I got to know the coach more than the one from the other organization. So reputability is great, like, oh, they work at Osgood, but if they don't know you, it doesn't mean anything. So don't be too intimidated by that. If you've grown really close with a teacher, with a coach, chances are they're going to be able to speak to things that are unique and complement your application, rather than just being repetitive.
Fantastic. I hope that everyone caught that bit about helping your referee do the work quicker. So when you're asking for a reference, like just sharing that breakdown on what the ethos of BBPA is, and then the top 2 or 3 things that you want the referee to highlight in your reference letter, just so that they're not spending like 2 hours cracking their head to say, okay, what should be highlighted, what shouldn't be, so that kind of just breaks down, just streamlines the process a little bit, and then saves them time. So that was a super efficient tip there. Thank you. And I just have like 2 more questions for you, and then I'll let you go, and then I'll open the floor to questions from everyone on the call. Is if there was one thing that you think made your application stand out, like just one thing, what would that be?
I say this a lot, is like a broken record, but remembering the power in your story. Like, I'm not talking to any of you at a place of, oh, I've arrived, but just remembering what makes you unique and reflecting on the things that you've been through. I think going through school and doing so much for others and institutions, we can be very separate from ourselves. That's why when we're asked the question, tell me about yourself, we're like, So I think recognizing the power in your story, I think that's something that stood out for me. Scholarship applications challenged me to sit with myself more, to reflect on things that I may have overlooked. And when I say the power in your story, like, what did you gain from it? What did you learn from it? How did you overcome? Because no one can really copy that, is one thing that I would say.
Fantastic. So just really understanding what makes you unique, because really I keep saying no two people are the same, no two experiences are the same. So each person is just a walking storybook. And so just highlighting that, especially the parts that align with the values of the scholarship would be very helpful. So thank you for that. And then my last question is, how was the scholarship able to support your academic goals that year and even going forward?
In a lot of ways. So like Uju had said, not just financially, but having the opportunity to take on more things. So I've been able to work in my school more, work with different organizations, and it's always full circling for me. So I think the scholarship has also helped me just to remember, as cliche as it sounds, like there are more people who are in the position that I am in, and to see that as a continual need and reminder. And it pushes me to remember the power in your story, because you see me now smiling and stuff, but I do remember when I stumbled across the BBPA and I was looking at everyone else, I'm like, oh my gosh, like there are doctors applying for this, there are lawyers applying for this. I'm just a high schooler barely making it in the 90s. I don't know if I'm going to be competitive enough. I think the BBPA has helped me to understand that it doesn't take a whole lot to make an impact. And that is something that I carry with me in the different opportunities that I've had. I've been able to work in school a lot more with different organizations and stuff, and of course financially, but holistically, that's what it's reinforced for me and continues to reinforce. Even with this, I was not anticipating this either. You can ask Uju, I was not. This was not like, okay, last year we told Tasia, no. So even this as well too is very humbling for me.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Tasia. And just before I let you go, is there one last advice that you want to give to the aspiring applicants today that are on the call?
Yes, two things. So I'll say the more technical one. For the academic references, I just want to say for anyone on here who is a bookworm, if you do have a teacher do your academic reference, I would suggest not for you to actually ask your teacher to talk about some of the scholarly material you've done, if it's relevant to the BBPA, just to take your academic reference to a next notch. So they're not just talking about, oh yeah, the student did well in my class. But if you did a piece that your professor or whomever has commented you well on and it's relevant, have them talk about that, because that's where they've overseen your work the most. And secondly, I just wanted to say, all the best, and just remembering the power in your story. If there's anything that you've been through that you thought never made sense in the moment or that was painful, knowing that there's purpose in your pain and even profit, and just whatever that may be for you. It doesn't have to be big or large, knowing that your story still has value and that you can use it to your advantage. And it doesn't have to be major. It could just be what you went through and using that as an opportunity to see that you're here for a reason and now you can use it for purpose.
Oh, that was so beautiful. Thank you so much, Tasia, for making the time to come and share your experience and your learnings, and also share advice to all of us on the call, especially at the aspiring applicants. Hopefully you'll come again the next time we invite you. But thank you so much. And I don't know if you're still going to be here for the rest of the call. We have like roughly 20 minutes for a question and answer. We're just going to transition into questions that people on the call might have. All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Uju. Take care.
All right. So at this point, I'm going to pause recording